I'm moving into your condo for the holidays. We already told Mom. That was my brother's text. Not a question, not even a request. A statement, dropped into the family group chat on a Wednesday afternoon like it was the most natural thing in the world. By the time I saw it, my mother had already replied with 3 heart emojis. My aunt had sent a thumbs up, and my cousin had typed, "So fun," underneath. I set my phone face down on my desk and went back to my spreadsheet. I work as a financial auditor at a mid-size firm in Denver. I am 31 years old. I have a 2-bedroom condo on the 14th floor with floor-to-ceiling windows that face the mountains, a parking space that costs more per month than some people's car payments, and a walk-in closet I spent 3 weeks organizing exactly the way I wanted it. I bought the condo 2 years ago with money I saved for 6 years while living with 2 roommates in a 1-bathroom apartment, eating lunch I packed every single day and saying no to vacations I couldn't afford. I signed the papers alone. I carried boxes alone. I assembled furniture on the floor at midnight, alone, with a glass of wine and a YouTube tutorial. No one in my family helped. That's not a complaint. That's context. My brother is 34. His name is Derek. He's been between jobs, as he calls it, for about 8 months. His girlfriend, Priya, is lovely in the way that people are lovely when they are slightly too agreeable about everything their partner does. They've been together for 2 years and have been staying at my mother's house in Colorado Springs since October, which is about 90 minutes from Denver. Mom loves having them. She said so many times. She also loves telling me about it. My mother is the kind of woman who has a gift for reframing other people's generosity as obligation. When I bought the condo, she told her friends I finally had enough room for the family to visit. She said this before she had visited once. She said it, I later found out, before I had even given her the address. I have a spare bedroom. It has a daybed, a desk, and a printer I use for work documents. It is not a guest suite. It is not an open invitation. It is a room in my home that I use for work, and occasionally for solitude, which is something I need the way some people need coffee. Consistently, without apology. Derek and Priya plan to arrive December 22nd. They plan to stay through January 2nd, 11 days. In my condo, with my parking space, my kitchen, my coffee maker that I have calibrated to brew at exactly 6,047 every morning, and my silence, which is not a small thing. The group chat message said they were coming for the holidays. It said they were so excited to spend real time together. It said, and this is the part I keep returning to, that they'd already figured out the sleeping situation. I read that line 3 times. They had figured out the sleeping situation in my home that I own, that they had never been invited to. I didn't respond. I put my phone in my bag, finished my audit report, drove home, poured myself a glass of water, and stood at my kitchen window watching the mountains go dark. Here is something I've understood about myself for a long time. I don't argue well in the moment. I get quiet. I get careful. People in my family have always read my silence as acceptance, as softness, as an open door. They have spent my entire life walking through it without knocking. I was the quiet one. Derek was the loud one. He was the one who filled rooms, who told stories at dinner that everyone laughed at, who got away with things because no one wanted to interrupt his momentum. I was the one who watched. I was the one who noticed. I was the one who, at 16, realized that noticing was its own kind of power, even if no one else could see it. When I was in college, Derek borrowed $1,500 from me. He needed it for a car repair. I gave it to him without making him ask twice. He paid back $400 over the next 2 years and then stopped mentioning it entirely. I didn't bring it up again, not because I'd forgiven it, but because I'd already made a decision about who Derek was and how much weight I would give his promises. I stored that information the way I store everything, quietly, accurately, without drama. My mother called me the Thursday after the group chat message. She called at 7:15 in the evening, which is when she calls when she wants something because she knows I just finished dinner and I'm at my most relaxed and therefore, she's calculated, my most agreeable. "Did you see Derek's message?" she asked. "I saw it," I said. "He's really looking forward to spending the holidays in Denver." Priya's never been. You have that beautiful spare room just sitting there. Just sitting there. Like a resource. Like something that existed in a vacuum without my having chosen it, paid for it, furnished it, maintained it. I'll figure it out, I said. My mother made a small sound, something between satisfaction and relief. She took that as a yes. She always takes that as a yes. I've been saying I'll figure it out for 31 years, and she has never once stopped to ask what I meant by it. I hung up and opened my laptop. The first thing I did was call my friend Jordan. Jordan is an attorney and the person I call when I need to think out loud without being talked out of my conclusions. She listened to everything. Then she said, "So what are you going to do?" "I'm going to rent out the spare room," I said, "for the holidays." There was a pause. Through Airbnb or a short-term platform, something with a contract, something official. Another pause. "When are you going to tell them?" "I'm not," I said. "Not yet." Jordan was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Okay, do you want help with the listing?" I love Jordan. I spent the next 2 evenings photographing the spare room. I deep cleaned it, replaced the pillowcases, added a small lamp I found at the thrift store, and wrote a listing that was honest and thorough. Mountain view from the hallway window. Quiet building. Coffee provided. Parking available. Available December 22nd through January 3rd. I priced it at a fair market rate for Denver in December, which is to say I priced it well. Within 48 hours, I had 4 inquiries. I chose a woman named Margaret who was visiting from Portland to see her daughter and new grandchild. She was 67, warm in her messages, and had 42 5-star reviews from other hosts. She said the condo sounded perfect. She said she just needed a quiet place to sleep and somewhere to leave her things while she spent time with family. I told her it was exactly that. I confirmed the booking on a Sunday night. Check-in, December 22nd. Check-out, January 3rd. I did not tell my family. I want to be clear about something. I am not a cruel person. I did not do this to humiliate anyone. I did not do this to cause pain. I did this because a room in my home is mine, because I had not been asked. Because my brother announced his plans in a group chat and received a cascade of heart emojis from a family that had collectively decided my square footage was a shared resource. Because Sal had spent 31 years being the person who figures it out, and I had decided, quietly and completely, that figuring it out now meant something different than it used to. The weeks between Derek's message and December pass the way weeks pass when you are waiting, slowly on the surface, quickly underneath. I worked, I exercised, I had dinner with Jordan twice and told her the room was booked. She laughed for a long time. My mother called twice more. Both times she mentioned how much Derek was looking forward to his room. His room. I listened. I said, in the places that required it. I said, "We'll see once," which she interpreted the same way she always does. On December 19th, Derek texted me directly. Not in the group chat this time. A private message. It said, "Hey, we're planning to head up Saturday morning, around 10. Can you leave a key with the front desk or should we buzz you?" I read the message. I set my phone down. I went to the kitchen, made tea, stood at the window. Then I typed back, "Hey, I actually need to tell you something. I rented the spare room out for the holidays through a short-term rental platform. It's been booked since early December. I'm sorry you didn't know sooner. I should have said something when the group chat message went out. There's no room for you to stay here." I pressed send. I put my phone in my cardigan pocket and went back to the window. The response took 4 minutes. In those 4 minutes, I thought about all the times I had rearranged myself to fit into spaces that weren't made for me. All the holidays I'd driven down to Colorado Springs even when I needed rest. All the conversations I'd sat through, quiet and attentive, while Derek narrated his life to an audience that always seemed more interested in him than in me. I've thought about the $1,500. I thought about the group chat and the heart emojis and the phrase, "his room." Then my phone lit up. "What? Are you serious right now? We already made plans. Mom knows about this. Everyone is expecting us to be in Denver for Christmas. You can't just... What do you mean you rented it out? You rented it to a stranger instead of family?" I read it once. I read it again. Then I put my phone back in my pocket. He called 3 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. I let it go to voicemail. The third call I picked up because at some point, avoidance becomes its own kind of drama. "This is unbelievable," he said. He didn't say hello. "Hi, Derek. I cannot believe you would do this. Mom is going to be devastated. We've been planning this for months." "You announced it in a group chat," I said. My voice was even. This surprised me a little. "You didn't ask." "There was no conversation. You told the family you were coming and everyone assumed I would be fine with it. You didn't say you weren't fine with it. You didn't ask if I was." Silence. A different kind of silence than the ones I usually inhabit. His silence, frustrated and searching for a foothold. "So, what are we supposed to do?" he said finally. "We already gave Mom the dates. She thinks we're going to Denver." "There are hotels in Denver," I said, "and Airbnbs. It's a big city. That costs money, Claire." "My name isn't Claire." But I want you to understand the way he said it. Flat. Like an accusation. Like the fact that it costs money was something I had created. "I know," I said. "You know." He repeated it back to me. "That's all you have to say." "I'm sorry there was a miscommunication," I said. "But I didn't know you, I just said, 'Good to know.' I didn't argue, I just said, 'I'm not able to offer the room.'" He hung up. I stood at the window for a long time. The mountains were dark blue at the edges, the sky doing that thing it does in Denver in December, where the cold makes everything sharper. My tea had gone lukewarm. I drank it anyway. My mother called 17 minutes later. I know it was 17 minutes because I was watching the clock, not out of anxiety, but out of something more like scientific interest. I had predicted she would call within 20 minutes. I was close. "What is going on?" she said. "Derek just called me. He said you rented your room out to a stranger." "A guest," I said, "through a rental platform. It's a legitimate booking. Why would you do that when you knew they were coming?" "I didn't know they were coming," I said. "No one asked me." "Derek told you in the group chat." "He told the group chat," I said. "That's different." My mother went quiet. It was a loaded quiet, the kind that is building towards something. Then she said, "Your brother has been going through a hard time. Priya has been going through a hard time. They just wanted to have a nice holiday. I thought you'd want to be part of that." There it was. The reframe. The gentle repositioning of my boundary as a failure of warmth. I had heard this before, not these exact words, but this sentence. The one that suggests that choosing yourself is choosing against family. I had been hearing a version of it since I was old enough to have anything worth taking. "I do want to have a nice holiday," I said. "I'm having one." "Claire, I'll talk to you soon, Mom." I said it gently. I meant it. "Merry Christmas." I hung up. My phone buzzed for the next 2 hours. The group chat came alive. My aunt weighed in. My cousin, the one who had said "so fun," asked if there had been a misunderstanding. Derek posted a long message about family and sacrifice and how disappointing it was when people prioritize strangers over blood. My mother responded with a sad face emoji. My aunt wrote, "This is heartbreaking." I muted the thread and poured myself a glass of wine. I want to tell you what I did not feel, because I think that's the more interesting part. I did not feel guilty. I had expected guilt, had been almost braced for it, the way you brace for cold water. But it didn't come. What came instead was something quieter, a steadiness, like a cabinet door I'd been holding closed for years, that I had finally, carefully, latched from the inside. Margaret arrived on December 22nd at 11 in the morning. She had a rolling suitcase and reading glasses pushed up on her head, and she shook my hand with both of hers and said, "Oh, this view," when she saw the mountains. I showed her where the coffee was. I showed her how the thermostat worked. I left a small basket on the dresser with a candle and some chocolates and a handwritten note that said, "Welcome. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen." She stayed 11 days. She was quiet and considerate and wiped down the counters every morning without being asked. She left a 5-star review that said the host is the kindest, most thoughtful person I have encountered on this platform. I spent Christmas morning alone in my kitchen with good coffee and a book I'd been meaning to read since March. In the afternoon, Jordan came over and we made pasta from scratch and watched a movie. It snowed a little. The light kind, the kind that makes the city look like it's been powdered. I kept the lights on my balcony on and watched the flakes disappear into the dark. Derek and Priya spent Christmas in Colorado Springs. I know because my mother posted a photo in the group chat on Christmas evening, the three of them at the table, plates full, candles lit. They looked fine. They looked honestly comfortable. I double-tapped the photo. I put my phone down. I went back to my book. There's a version of this story where I'm the villain. I know that. Derek would tell it that way, the sister who booked out her spare room out of spite, who chose a stranger over family, who ruined Christmas because she couldn't let go of a grudge. My mother might tell it more softly, the daughter who got a little too independent, who forgot that family means being available. But here's what I know. No one asked. And I have spent a long time being a resource that people accessed without asking, an account they drew from without depositing, a door they opened without knocking because they'd been opening it so long they'd stopped seeing it as a door at all. I changed the lock. That's all I did. Not loudly, not dramatically. I changed the lock and I rented the room, and I had a quiet Christmas with good coffee and a person I love and snow that didn't stick. In January, I turned off notifications on the family group chat. I didn't leave it. I just stopped letting it interrupt me. Derek texted me once more in the second week of January. It said, "I hope you're happy." I think he meant it to sting. I read it and realized, with something approaching wonder, that I was. Not because of what had happened to him, but because of what had happened to him. But because of what had happened to me. Something had shifted. Some old agreement I'd never consciously signed had quietly expired. "I am happy," I typed back. Then I added, "I hope you are too." I meant both sentences. My condo's very quiet in January. The mountains are white at the top and gray at the middle, and the light comes through my kitchen window at an angle that makes the whole room glow for about 40 minutes every morning. I make my coffee at 6:47. I eat breakfast standing at the counter. I go to work. I cook dinner or I don't. I leave the spare room exactly as I want it. Tidy, useful, mine. No one has announced plans to stay in my group chat since December. I have not been asked yet either. But if someone asks, genuinely asks, with advance notice and an understanding that the answer might be no, I think I'd consider it. That's the difference. That's the whole thing, really. Not the room, not the rental, not even the 11 days, just the asking.